We're at the main event, guys. I actually got interrupted filming this one yesterday, so I have to do it again today. But, it is what it is. And that's why I did this in parts. I was expecting to get interrupted, and I did. It's because I'm a smart cookie, okay? I'm a smart cookie, alright? But anyway, main event of the episode, we're talking the top 10 films of 2020. It's finally here. I'm finally doing it. I've been building this one up, and hopefully it's just going to be as good as I think it's going to be. But, who knows? We'll see. I'm kind of shitty at this anyway. Anyway, just a couple disclaimers before I get into my top 10 and the whole, year in review for film in 2020. Like some disclaimers that I do give for my top 100 favorite films of all time. This is just a subjective list. I mean, that's the beauty about film, and it's in its art form that it's subjective to everyone. Certain films mean certain things to certain people. So because your film's not on here doesn't mean it's objectively bad, or maybe I just didn't see it. And that leads me into my next thing, is that I haven't seen every single film that came out in 2020, whether it's availability, money, just time. I just didn't get around to it. So if I don't even, and I'm gonna run through a list of possible films that I do think could have made it in my top 10 list, but I just didn't, for some reason, didn't see him. And I'll just run through that list real quick. And if I if I haven't mentioned your favorite film at any point in this video or this podcast, please comment and let me know, because that's certain things that I want to know, is some hidden gems out there that are flying under my radar that I might really like. Those are like the best films. Those are the best movies. And also, if you're on YouTube, if you're watching this on YouTube, this is also a podcast, by the way, but if you're watching this on YouTube and, you have a differing opinion than I do, comment below and tell me what's your favorite film of 2020, or give me your top 5, or shit, give me your top 10 list. I don't give a shit. I mean, I would love to hear it. But so without further ado, let's just get into the discussion at hand. So starting off again, like I said before, I haven't seen every film in 2020. It's just impossible. I don't think anyone can. So I'm just going to list off a kind of a long list, and it was a longer list than I kind of wanted this past year. But it's still, I still want to let people know out there that these are the films that I haven't seen. So these are films that could have possibly made it in my top 10, or, they could have made it in my top 10 list, but, I didn't see them. So, first one, The Gentleman. We got Swallow, The Midnight Sky, Nomadland, The New Mutants, Minari, which is a big one. I heard this one's like one of the best of the year. I really wanted to see that one. Borat subsequent movie film, Da 5 Bloods, The Father, Black Bear, Wonder Woman 1984. Probably wouldn't have made it in there, but I felt like it was important to mention it. Mank, Relic, and finally The Old Guard. Now, a lot of these films, again, I tried to find them. Like, I tried to find Relic and Swallow. Couldn't find them anywhere to rent. Also Minari, I really wanted to check that one out. So, I apologize for not being able to see those, and perhaps they could have made it in this list. I mean, I think it's almost a guarantee that they could have, because I heard really great things about those films. But, I didn't see them, so I can't really talk how good they are and rank them, in good conscience. So with that, there's other films that I did see this year that I like to call fringe films, or fringers, that there was 10 more films better than these ones. And these are pretty much all the films that I just watched in 2020 that came out in 2020, because there weren't that many. So I'm just going to be listing all my fringe films. The first one that I mentioned is probably my least favorite, and the last one I mentioned is the closest it could have been to getting in my top 10. So the first fringe film that I want to mention is The Way Back, starring Ben Affleck. Probably his best performance, but just overall was pretty, it's kind of cliche throughout the film, and then there is a point where it follow the, sports basketball film cliche. But honestly, I thought it would have been better if it did. I feel like I would have gotten a little bit more closure and a more satisfying ending if it did just, you know, follow the cliche. Just because your film is cliche doesn't mean it's bad. You know, if you do the cliche right and you do it justice, or you have really good characters that I like, you know, it still can be an amazing film. And I just feel like this one doesn't really get that, and it just tries to do some other things. But, you know, it's still a decent, solid film that I recommend. I didn't give it my movie magic on the channel, so take that what you will. The next film on this list is The Devil All the Time. I have not reviewed this one on my channel. I think it was during my 5-month hiatus. Hopefully that doesn't fucking happen again. But, yeah, The Devil All the Time. Just a really dark, nasty film. Like, in a good way, but, like, some other ways, it's just, I'm not gonna rewatch this film ever again. I mean, we're talking amazing performances by certain actors like Tom Holland and Robert Pattinson and Sebastian Stan, but man, like, it's just so dark, and some points are really graphic, and it was like, Jesus fucking Christ, man, like, was that really necessary to show me that? But, you know, it is what it is, and, you know, I thought it was a solid film. It's definitely worth a watch. I probably would have given it my movie magic if I did review it. But, you know, it's a rough one to watch, but, you know, still worth it. Next one on my fringe list is I'm Thinking of Ending Things. Very weird film. This is available on Netflix like The Devil All the Time. They're both Netflix original films, both based off of books, and I heard this one, I'm Thinking of Ending Things, is incredibly faithful to the book, which is cool, but I definitely don't really want to read the book then, because the book is probably even more confusing than the film, and I don't know how that would be possible, but the film is really confusing and pretty hard to follow, but like kind of in a good way. I didn't find myself wanting to research the film and finding out exactly what the film was about. And I've done that on other films, and for some reason I didn't do it on this one, even though I love the performances. There's certain scenes that are incredible. I think it's a really well-written film. It just doesn't really do enough for me personally, and I feel like that might not be the same for other people out there. It's just that this is my opinion, so yeah, take that what you will. Moving on up, Love and Monsters, another surprising film. I think it came out in March. About, a post-apocalyptic film. A guy, survives the apocalypse, but also his girlfriend before the apocalypse happens, and he wants to get to his girlfriend, but she's in a whole nother settlement, like across a large area. So he has to go a long way to get to her, and he, eventually does. And I feel like this film just kind of, I thought it was not going to be cliche, because it almost does that, and I was like, oh, okay, here we go, good. This is what I wanted out of the film. I wanted this to happen. I mean, that's probably just my weird expectations that shouldn't really exist, but, I feel like it would have been a better and more meaningful film if it wasn't going to be cliche, but then eventually it just reverts back to the actual cliche that, you kind of expect it to, which is unfortunate, but it's still a pretty solid film. I really enjoyed it. It's just, I feel like it would have been better. It would have stuck with me a lot more, and I would have want to rewatch this film a lot more if it didn't go with that Hollywood cliche with their, at the end, she falls back in love with him type of thing. A little bit of a spoiler there. Next film on the list, I have Sputnik, or Sputnik, however you want to pronounce it. I've thought about this one a lot since I reviewed it on this channel, but I still stick by my review. I give it the movie magic. I still give it a lot of praise, and I still enjoyed this film. I just think some of the tone is a little bit off, and I feel like the ending, wants to have this like really emotional connection with its audience, and I just didn't really feel that. And I don't know. It's not like the ending is irrelevant to the story, because it's relevant. It's just I feel like it doesn't have that emotional impact like the filmmakers kind of think it does, and that just takes it down for me personally. It's my personal opinion. Next film on the list, we have Run. I forget when this one came out, but Sarah Paulson's in this, and she's great. It's a good, solid suspense thriller, isolation thriller, almost kind of like Misery a little bit, where a daughter of Sarah Paulson is, handicapped, and she's trying to go to college, and, Sarah Paulson's character might have some reservations about that. I'm not going to say anything more about it. And it's a good, solid suspense thrill. It just, at times, it gets a little bit too ridiculous and a little bit unbelievable, but still a really fun movie and definitely worth a watch. I would check it out. It's on Hulu. It's a Hulu original film. Next film on the list, we got Christopher Nolan's Tenet. I've reviewed this one on my channel. I definitely recommend checking out my review for this one. I think I get a decent analysis on the film, but probably some of the best visuals and action set piece moments of the year, but that's kind of about it that this film gives you. I feel the story and the narrative is just so complex, and you're like 5 steps behind the film consistently throughout the film when it's progressing. So when certain things are happening, when you're like, wait, who is that? Are they inverted? Is he inverted? What is inversion again? Who is that again? Why do I care about the main protagonist? And why is he only named the protagonist? I love these actors, but like, I don't really give a shit about any of them because I don't know any of them. This is just kind of like a set piece film. That's kind of how I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it like I was watching just some like popcorn action film, which is disappointing from Christopher Nolan for me, and that's why it's not in the top 10. Next film on this list, Pieces of a Woman. I think this is the first film on these fringe lists that I think got a little bit snubbed. I just thought there was 11 films that are better than this one, but this film is still an incredible piece of cinema. I think it's really great. It's a really emotionally rough film to get through, kind of like a Sophie's Choice or Requiem for a Dream or 12 Years a Slave type of film, where it's like it's important for you to watch, but like once, and that's kind of about it. Like, I'm never going to show this film to someone and watch it with them like I will like certain films. I'm like ahead of this one, all films ahead of this one, but like I will recommend this one for people to watch because I think it's a really good film and has a really great symbolism. Probably some of the best performances of the year. I think arguably has the best performance of the year by Vanessa Kirby, the main actor, or whatever you want to refer her as, but. My next film on the list, another one that I thought I really wanted to put in my top 10 list, a foreign film. It's called Another Round. I was watching this one having really high expectations because it comes from the same director and writer and director from a film called The Hunt, which is really great, and I highly, highly recommend that one. But again, it's a film that's really hard to watch at times and deals with some really dark topics, so just viewer beware. But this one is definitely very different, not as dark at all, but I mean it has some dark moments, but it's a lot more enjoyable. I think it's a funner concept about certain, like, a group of teachers that kind of try to buy into this philosophy of keeping your body blood alcohol level at like a certain point throughout the day, and see how, like, if you perform better, like whether in your working or in your professional life and interacting with people, and your social skills are improved. It's a good one, but I mean it definitely gets dark at times, and it's actually really funny at times. This is a really funny movie, especially the ending. The ending is really great. I think probably one of the best endings of the year. It's just it didn't really reach the amount that I was impressed by The Hunt. Like, The Hunt, like, blew me away. This one didn't quite do that, and I think that's just on me. I had really high expectations with this one, but, I mean, it is a really great movie, and I don't regret not putting this one in here, but I wish it would have, like, slipped in here. But I thought there was 10 better films in the year, and that brings me to the main event. Finally, is the final 10 best films of the year, my 10 favorites of the year. So let's just get right into it. So we got number 10. Number 10 goes to Netflix's His House. I just reviewed this one, I think, a couple of Nerd Out Sanctuary episodes ago. probably probably the best, like, all-out horror film, like downright horror film of the year for me. Has some sprinkles of that domestic horror genre that I love so much. Certain films like Hereditary or The Shining, have those domestic horror films that have those sort of themes, and I think this one definitely shares that. Has two really great performances, and good acting performances in horror films are actually very important and kind of underrated. And this one has it. The visuals are really great. The disturbing imagery is there. The tone is there. The atmosphere is there. It's just a really solid, great film, and also gives you some, like, a certain perspective on, like, actual real life issues, which I thought was pretty eye-opening and also important. So His House is really solid, a solid horror film. If you're a fan of horror, do not miss this one. This one's really great. It's a solid horror film. So yeah, check this one out. It goes to my number 10 slot. Number 9, we got another Netflix original film. I got The Trial of the Chicago 7. Now, this film, I believe, is a lot higher on a lot of people's lists, but I mean, it's still, like, I objectively think this film is amazing from a filmmaking standpoint. Probably the best written script of the year. I think the best cast ensemble of the year. It's probably one of the more entertaining films of the year. It's just when you look at it, look it up, and the true events just don't really match up what happened in the film. And the film clearly has a political bias, and you can't really ignore that. You can't say that this doesn't, because it's very one-sided. Aaron Sorkin, love the guy, but he clearly is on the side of the protesters and perceives police officers in a horrible light, which, I mean, take that what you will. This is not a political discussion show, but I don't know. It's just, I feel like when your film is, based off true life, but it has a clear political message, I think staying true to the facts is important. I mean, it's a lot more important staying true to the facts than a film like Braveheart that has no political meaning. It's just a film to enjoy. It's just an epic, like Gladiator. I don't give a shit that it's historically accurate. But like this film, when there's a political undertone to it, I mean, it even kind of tells you that it's a political film underhandedly in the film when a certain character's like, oh, if this is clearly a political trial, like this is clearly a political movie. I think it becomes a little bit more important historical accuracy is. So that's why it's a little bit lower on my list. But I mean, I still can't ignore that it's objectively a really great movie. So yeah, number 9, Trial of the Chicago 7. Now number 8, yet again, another Netflix original film. They really kind of killed it this year with the original content. But number 8, I got a film that I just recently reviewed, Extraction, starring Chris Hemsworth. Probably hands down the best action, at least hand-to-hand, like combat action or gunfight action that I've seen this year. Heavy John Wick vibes, heavy The Raid vibes, these long, wide shots of action, long tracking shots, like uncut tracking shots, and I was really impressed. Like, it actually blew me away. I mean, the story doesn't blow you away, and the characters don't blow you away, but the action definitely does. I mean, again, some visual effects and CGI are noticeable, but like not bothersome at all, and it's just very short-lived. It's very sparingly used, but I mean, it also seems that Chris Hemsworth is doing a lot of the stunts himself. Obviously, he's not doing all of them, but he's probably doing most of them. I wouldn't be surprised, and I was just so impressed by the action. It's so real and gritty, and like it's filmed incredibly well, and is visually striking. I loved it. I thought, and you can tell that the film is directed by a stunt coordinator, and it is. Sam Hargrave, like, bravo. It's the best action of the year that you can see. If you're a fan of action films, definitely check out Extraction. Now, number 7, one of the films that I actually had to rewatch to kind of reconfirm my love for the film. It came out, I think, in February, and fun fact, this is the last film that I saw in a movie theater before the pandemic hit, and I haven't been to a movie theater since, and man, do I miss going to the movies. But number 7 goes to The Invisible Man. Like I said, I had to rewatch this film because it came out a while ago. That's before, the U.S. kind of went on lockdown a little bit. But The Invisible Man, I think, is just such a great suspense thriller. Awesome visual effects, probably one of the better remakes in recent memory. I think Lee Winnell does a fantastic job of just, when he shifts the camera, like he's rotating the camera, he's following a character, and then it just, like, the camera just stops, and the main actor, like, exits the frame, Elizabeth Moss, exits the frame, and the camera just stays in that shot, and you're not shooting anything, so it gives you the perception that he's there. The Invisible Man is there. You just can't see him. Very creepy, very eerie. An underrated action scene is also in this film that I really liked, and towards the end, Elizabeth Moss gives a fantastic performance. She is just so awesome. I want to see her in even more, even though she's in a decent amount, but she's always just so great. I love Elizabeth Moss so much. She's one of the best actors, I think, out there. At least one of the most underrated actors out there. So yeah, The Invisible Man, number 7 slot, really great film. If you're a suspense thriller fan, if you want some thrills, watch The Invisible Man. I believe it's available on HBO Max. So I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure I watch it on HBO Max. So yeah. Another film that I know is on HBO Max that I also had to rewatch to just reaffirm my love for it, which is probably not on anyone else's list, but I don't give a shit because I think this film is awesome. And that's number 6. It goes to Underwater. This film came out in January, I believe, so this was a January release, and this one kind of blew me away because I had, like, all-time low expectations for this one. I also saw this one in the theater, and this one kind of just blew me away. I was like, holy shit, I didn't expect to love this film as much as I did. Like, probably some of the best sound design of the year. Like, try to watch this film with headphones or a good surround sound system and, like, a good TV, because it really puts those assets to work. And I think I don't know, it's Alien but underwater, and that's what it is, and it knows what it is, and it doesn't try to be anything more. And I've talked about self-awareness for films, like when I was talking about Extraction. It doesn't try to be anything else, more than it actually is. It doesn't try to be Citizen Kane or a Best Picture nominee or anything. It's just, we're Alien underwater, and that's what it is. So, and that's perfect. It's perfect. It's a great film. I think it also has some decent performances by its actors. I think Kristen Stewart gives a great performance. I mean, say what you will about her in the Twilight films, I don't really give a shit. I think she's a good actor. So, Underwater, I think Underwater is under the radar, I think, as a film. I think it's going to be one of those hidden gems that a lot of people don't talk about in the future, because I don't miss Underwater. I think Underwater is a really great film, and it's on HBO Max. If you have it, I'd definitely check it out. I think it's worth your time. So, moving on to number 5. This is my top 5 now. I just talked about this director's father, David Cronenberg, and this one is directed by, I forget what his name is, but is the son of David Cronenberg. And hold on, let me look it up real quick. But number 5 goes to Possessor. This film is very interesting. I guess my computer is deciding to just shit itself, which is great. I love that. And my phone's going off. We're losing track. What doesn't matter. So this one, I want to classify it as a sci-fi horror, or it's very Cronenberg. I mean, it's very weird. It's creepy. Has really gross and awesome practical effects. There's a certain scene in this film that just, like, you're like, Jesus Christ, that is so violent. And it almost borders on, like, was that really necessary to show me that? But I mean, like, it's great practical effects, and I love to see it come back, and I'm really excited to see this guy do more work in the future, because I thought this film, again, I didn't know anything about this film going into it, and I recommend you do the same. Don't watch any trailers, read anything about it. Just watch it and see what you think. It's a very interesting concept, a very scary concept. It actually reminded, when I watched Scanners for the first time, it actually reminded me of this film. I mean, it's not anything, really like it, but it's like a sci-fi horror thriller type. It's like the same genre almost. And I think the director does a really great job directing it in. Certain scenes are very weird and, like, almost, like, psychosis-inducing. So, yeah, Possessor's a really cool film, and I think also another underrated one. I mean, it might not be underrated. I think a lot of people are mentioning this one in their top 10 list. But anyway, going on to number 4. We got a personal favorite of mine, just kind of connected emotionally for me. We got The King of Staten Island, Pete Davidson's King of Staten Island, directed by what's his name? I forget. I'm blanking on the director's name, and I can't look it up because my computer is just not doing anything, I guess. But The King of Staten Island, really great, kind of almost biopic of Pete Davidson's life. He lost his father in 9/11, and his father was a firefighter, and that's kind of the same thing that happens in this film, but you don't see Pete Davidson's father because he's already dead, and it's just Pete Davidson's life. He describes his film as, if he didn't find comedy, this is what his life would have been like. And I thought it was really great. I thought the use of Kid Cudi tracks were really great at the beginning and the end. Very, very awesome. I love Kid Cudi. Kid Cudi's the shit. But I thought this film was, I don't know, I mean, coming from me, I mean, it's a little bit I'm gonna take a lot more from this film than I think certain people are, because I lost my father when I was 14, so I kind of know a little bit about what Pete was going through at that time, even though I think he lost his father at a younger age. But yeah, I mean, it touched me on a deeper emotional level than I think other people will. That's probably why it's a lot higher on my list than it will be on others. So yeah, King of Staten Island goes in the number 4 spot. Now, going to the top 3, number 3 goes to Sound of Metal. I was thinking about this film even more after I watched it and after I reviewed it. And this film is just really good, man. I think probably does have the best performance out of the year in Riz Ahmed. If he doesn't get nominated for an Oscar or and win, I'll be incredibly disappointed by the Academy. But I don't really give a shit about the Oscars, and I don't really think you should too either. People don't remember awards, they remember films. I think George Clooney said that, and it's just 100% true. But this film is really great, and I think it has a really good message of, knowing what's important around you and not getting so focused on superficial things. Obviously, I don't think your hearing is a superficial thing, but, there's other people around you that, who support you that are important, and, don't focus on the wrong things, focus on the right things. And I think this film really nails that home, especially at the end. And I think it's a very beautiful ending to it as well. So yeah, Sound of Music is available on Amazon Prime. I'll definitely check this one out if you haven't. So, top 2. Number 2 goes to a film that I have not talked about on this podcast, but I think everyone and their mother has seen. Number 2 goes to Disney Pixar's Soul. This is on Disney Plus. So anyone can watch that, because I feel like everyone and their mother has Disney Plus because of The Mandalorian. But Soul was a welcome surprise. It's Disney Pixar, so they always have incredibly high standards, and for some reason they keep living up to every single one of their standards with every one of their movies, and this one is no different. This one was really special. Not very much for kids. I don't really know if, kids will probably enjoy some of those certain cat scenes, and the visuals are very just some of the best of all ever. It's Disney Pixar. It's what you kind of expect. But, this one is very, almost, metaphysical and, thoughtful and emotional, dealing with concepts of death and life and, living, a life for the right reasons and, doing things, that make your life worth living, and that's important. That's important for us to know about, and that really spoke to me, especially, when, I'm not that old. I'm 24, going on 25. I'm not old, but whenever you get there and, certain things happen in your life, if you do contemplate death every once in a while, it happens. We all do it. Don't lie and tell me you don't. You haven't in your life. You have. So, and this film is very, very important, and I think is a very good film. I think would have been a little bit better if, I think they would have stuck to their guns a little bit at the end, but it doesn't really matter. It's a Disney Pixar film, and it's already kind of dark and very adult as it is. So I don't think it really needs to go even further. But, I always like that because, I'm a fucked up person. So, yeah, Number 2 goes to Soul. Quality, probably the best animated film of the year, and probably will win Best Animated Feature at the Oscars. I don't see why it wouldn't. It's a Disney Pixar film, so, I mean, the pedigree's there, so. Soul, really great. And that leaves me to my top film of the year. My favorite film of the year goes to, weirdly, a Hulu original film. I'm talking about Palm Springs. This is my last film that I rewatched. And I rewatched it, and I was like, you know what, man, this film, it's the best film of the year. It just is. It's better than all the films that I just mentioned, and I don't think it would be better than I think it's better than any other film that I haven't seen of the year. This film is just, it balances that comedy and drama and romantic elements so well, and I think it's just so good. I love the setting. Andy Samberg is so great. It's underrated guy in Hollywood. I love Andy Samberg. He's hilarious in this film, and it's just such a well-written film, but he also gives a good dramatic performance in it too. Also, I forget the actress's name in the film, but let me try to look it up for you really quick. So let me just fucking let my computer load, because the internet, I guess, right now is just kind of horrible for me. But she is also incredible, and also another underrated actor in the industry. I think she needs to get a lot more work because she's great. And just her and Andy Samberg together to have this just chemistry that just works and just really elevates the film for me. Kristen Milotti, I think, is her name. I'm sorry if I'm butchering it, but she's great. She plays Sarah. Also, J.K. Simmons with an underrated cameo side character, and he's fucking awesome in everything that he's in. Even those goddamn Farmers insurance commercials, he's just the best. I love J.K. Simmons, but again, also fantastic ending. I've reviewed this on my channel. I mean, there's one element to it that's a bit ridiculous because I've taken modern physics, so I've studied quantum mechanics, and there's like a moment in this film where like a certain character just learns quantum mechanics and like that, which I don't get. I mean, I get it's not instantaneous, but I just thought it was a little bit ridiculous. So I was like, quantum mechanics is pretty fucking hard to understand no matter how long you study it. But whatever. Still, I think this film is really great. Just, it's my favorite of the year, and I watched it, and it's so funny. It hits you in the feels, you know. It has an amazing ending. The characters are so lovable and likable. I mean, it's just a really solid, great film. There's some twists and turns and some surprises in there too. You know, it throws back to a classic film, Groundhog Day, and I actually rewatched this on Groundhog Day, which was recently, which I thought was very weird and interesting. But that was not on purpose. I just kind of realized, it was like, oh shit, today's Groundhog Day, and I'm watching Palm Springs. That throws back to Groundhog Day. That's really weird. But anyway, yeah, Palm Springs, I believe it's the best movie of the year. And if you haven't checked this one out, check this one out, because this one is definitely worth your time. I mean, all these films are great, and all these films are worth your time. I think even my Fringe films are worth your time if you haven't seen them. But yeah, like I said, if I'm forgetting a film that I haven't seen or is your favorite film, comment below. If you're watching this on YouTube, let me know. Let me know your list. Let me know your top 5 or top 10, or just your favorite film of the year, or if you agree with me. If you disagree with me, totally cool, totally awesome. Let me know. I would love to, respond to you and tell you how your opinion's fucking wrong. No, I'm kidding. Your opinion can't be wrong. That's why it's an opinion. But, yeah, I would love to hear from you guys on this, and that's kind of the episode. Hello there. I hope you enjoyed that video. If you're unfamiliar with this channel, this is Nerd Out Sanctuary. I'm your host, Michael. What do I talk about, you say? Well, I talk about anything nerdy. So that's movies, video games, TV shows, comic books every once in a while. Books, maybe not. I don't know. Anything that I feel like talking about. I'm a huge nerd. I hope you're a huge nerd, and I hope we can enjoy our nerdiness together here. This is a full audio podcast available on iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts, the major podcast platforms. So consider going over to those and checking out the full version of the episode. and other past episodes, please leave me a review and subscribe on those platforms. If you don't want to do that, clipped, shorter versions of those full episodes will be posted here on YouTube. So consider subscribing and liking the videos for more to support me and future content that I will be producing in the future on nerdy stuff. So yeah, thank you, and see you on the next one.